So, hi everyone, and I'm very happy to introduce you to Sat Prem for a new interview for my channel. And so I actually just went to an authentic relating training with you 2 days in France, Saint Emo. And I just wanted to share, talk a little bit about authentic relating with you, probably also circling. I know you're also doing yoga and I think kundalini yoga and other things. So I just thought let's have some new people on my channel and let's explore those topics a little bit, especially since this channel is called Embodied Authenticity. Authentic relating is really something very fascinating. And so I would want to start with the question: what is authentic relating? Could you first, thanks for coming on the channel.
Thanks for inviting me.
And very happy to have you here. And I know you've been on this journey for quite some time, authentic relating training. And so for our viewers, could you explain what is authentic relating?
Yeah, as I experience it and know it, it's a set of practices created to cultivate genuine, authentic, embodied connection with other human beings, like to really nurture intimacy and depth in connection, really like being able to communicate and transmit what is happening for one another in the moment, in the immediacy of what's here and now.
And so what would you say, what are the most important blocks or building blocks or foundations of authentic relating?
Yeah, what's coming now is presence, like being able to connect to oneself, and to really like track what's happening in terms of sensation, of emotions, and of thoughts in the moment, and being able to convey those experiencing to another being. And this is like the fundamental, like the base of, yeah.
So kind of being able to feel what's happening inside of me, and then also being able to communicate in some way or another.
Yeah.
And I think in authentic relating you have 5 foundational practices. So what are those kind of what do they revolve around? What does it compose of?
What are those 5 practices?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the first practice is welcome everything. So it's really like related with connect to self, and it's like what's happening in the moment, and can I welcome my own experience and what's happening inside of me. And often we find ourselves like resisting what is happening. It's like some feelings are uncomfortable or some situation, and we tend to suppress them. So it's an invitation to feel more of ourselves. The second practice is assume nothing. And would you like me to develop a bit around those? Or?
Yes.
Yeah. So assume nothing is an opportunity for us to check our assumption we have about ourselves, about others, about the world, and not to stay. Maybe we can sometimes stay trapped into our belief about life, about things, and it's like sometimes they are exact, correct, sometimes they are like false, and often they are preventing ourselves to really connect with someone, or to enter in contact, in connection with the world. So basically we check our assumption. Are those like yeah,
are they accurate or something?
Yeah, it's like maybe I feel like demonstrating with you if you are available. So I'm assuming in that moment that you experience some joy and playfulness to be in connection and have this interview. And is that true? Or
yes, I would say there is some joy and some excitement, maybe a little bit of nervousness as well, like how we're gonna evolve the topic and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and in authentic relating, if I hear that, like you feel some joy and also some nervousness, like I could share with you, oh, I experience also that nervousness in that moment, and sharing that with you, I'm feeling like a bit more relaxed in myself, like I revealed, which is like the third practice of authentic relating, is like I'm revealing my experience in the present moment, and I'm not used to being interviewed, and I'm also like feeling some nervousness being with you, and yeah, also some excitement. And
that's beautiful. That's what I love about the whole authentic relating thing, is that it's a lot about talking about what is already there, but what is usually not talked about, right?
Yeah, totally. It's really like making the implicit explicit, like what is hidden to be revealed, and like what is unconscious within ourselves to become conscious. And that's often where we need another being or others being to really help us to see part of ourselves which are like in the shadow, basically.
And so what are the fourth and fifth
so yeah, the fourth practice is own your experience. And it's very close to nonviolent communication. It's really about like taking responsibility for my own experience. What is happening is not like, oh, you have me do that interview and, you know, like because of that I feel uncomfortable, or like kind of blaming or putting what's happening to me onto others. It's really like, oh, my experience, I'm feeling that, and yeah, I'm willing to really own that experience, and thus like to speak with the I statement. I'm feeling that nervousness.
Like taking ownership of one's own experience.
Totally. And that's not always easy.
Of course. Yeah, it's easier to blame others, or blame situation, or blame anything else.
And basically the fifth practice is honor oneself, honor others. And it's really like cultivating doing both at the same time. It's like not being here to please you or to you know, try to honor you, but like with sacrificing how do we say sacrificing myself, or not the opposite, like just like honoring myself but disconnecting from you. And it's really like this golden rule of, you know, don't do to others what you don't want others do to you. And when we practice the four practices, then the fifth one is naturally happening and unfolding in the relationship.
That's beautiful. So, and one thing I've also heard in the training was something around dignity and humility. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I'm checking within where to start with it in that moment. Yeah, those two concepts are very important in the practice of authentic relating. It's really like developing those connection in humanity, and it's about rehumanizing some places where maybe we have like damn some situation, and in ourselves and in others. And this concept of balancing humility and dignity is really like a tool, like a support to know that we can learn from every other human being on the planet. Every other human being is really like a teacher for us to learn something, and to really like all that polarity within ourselves. And the dignity is knowing that we all have something to teach and to transmit and to convey to the world. And like everyone can learn something very unique from our experience. And balancing those two polarities within ourselves is to really bring our voice in the world, our truth, while knowing that we have to learn, or we can learn from anybody else and any situation.
Yeah, and I found this very interesting, this kind of idea of humility and dignity, because the humility is like, and this is what I've experienced in the seminar. I'm curious, what do you think about it? Is that the dignity is something, because there was some exercise about like you teaching, or you being the one that is being taught to. And so I had this experience that dignity is the humility is like it's kind of this movement of receiving in a way. You're open, you want to learn, you're so humble to see what there is to learn, and what all of, like, there's so much to learn, and I can learn from everything and everyone. And there's this openness and this flow of like, wow, I take in information, I take in knowledge, I learn, I'm open, I'm very open to learn, receive. And then the dignity is like, I'm connecting to my own like divine source in a way, or to my divinity, to my own knowing, and I can, it's kind of the opposite direction, I can now share that in a way. And it felt like there's almost like a circle happening, because like by being having this humility, I can receive, and through allowing myself to be the receiver, at some point I nourish my own kind of divine knowing that then, kind of like nourishes other people, and brings my own best into the world. And I found it felt almost like there's this kind of a circle going on if you integrate those both of things. Because if you're only just receiving, then you will never bring anything back to the world. And if you're only just kind of like throwing out your knowledge or whatever, then, and you're not receiving, then you're probably disconnected to what other people's needs are, and what's actually needed. Or if you're actually connected to your core, just kind of like throwing out knowledge from your ego, trying to be better. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very beautiful hearing you share your experience around that. And this circularity and polarity is very very much supported and cultivated in those practices of authentic relating. Like I saw you doing like that, this kind of circle, and we can see that in all planes of existence, like that and like that and like that as well. And it's really also like an embodied practice. It's really like it's living in the body, and we use what's alive in the body to really cultivate those dimensions and dynamics of polarity and exchange, and and finding maybe a kind of harmony, or an openness to when it's disharmonious or unbalanced, to really like how I can be in that situation with that chaos sometimes, and still be in connection. And sometimes we tend to disconnect when it's like super shaky. And in my own experience, it's really helped me to stay in touch with myself and being in connection with the other, while inside is a bit like upside down or chaotic.
That's interesting. And I one thing I wanted to touch on as well is if you this whole thing about actually having your body, like how does the body come into authentically relating with other people? How does my inner experience come into relating authentically? Because you were saying that we were also work with the body, or with for inner kind of world in relation to others. How does that come into play?
Yeah, I'm not sure to understand your question. It's like how in the practice, in the training, how we involve the body, or
yes, in a way, and because how can we be aware of ourselves, and at the same time, how can we how can we share that what's going on authentically? How does it come into play? Because often we're talking about words, we're talking about a concept, about ideas, about information, but how does the body come into play when you want to authentically relate with people?
Yeah, what's coming now hearing that question is like also cultivating our ability and our capacity to name, to bring words into our physical experience, like into our sensation. How can I convey what is happening now in my body? So it's like we develop a practice, a muscle to really like, oh, here I'm feeling that in that moment. I'm sensing, for instance, my knee, and something is happening in my right knee. I don't know exactly how to describe that, but yeah, it's a beginning of putting my attention on that part of myself and bringing that in our connection.
And so because when I'm talking about the body, I'm also talking about kind of like emotions and energy, because what my experience has been is that oftentimes if we are not aware of what's going on inside of us, or what some things that people tell or say that what they trigger in me, or how I'm actually feeling, it's actually very difficult for me to authentically communicate with someone and actually connect, because I'm not really aware of the process that's happening inside of me with respect to the other person. In a way, and we've talked about a little bit about circling before. I think one of the interesting things, because I haven't really done circling, but I know you have done circling. I think you've also done medication, right? And circling Europe, right?
Yes.
And so that is what my image is, and I'm curious what you think about it. That it's got a lot to do with feeling and and understanding what is my full experience in that very moment, and being able to share that, and also what changes with the relationship with other people, by things that other people say, and by being aware of that, kind of like almost meditatively, we can actually connect on a deeper level.
Totally, yeah. It's like one of the principles of circling is really like stay at the level of sensations. And we explore being in connection, what's alive between us, and how that moves us, and how that transforms what is happening by sharing our innermost experience. And you mentioned like emotions, and in circling, or how I learned it, is really like seeing that what we call emotion are often rooted in the body, and it can come back to and being broken down to sensations. And we really like cultivate staying at that level of sensation, and really like sharing what's happening, really experiencing our body in relationship with one another.
That's beautiful, and I find it very fascinating, because when you meditate yourself, you have some kind of emotions or some kind of things going on that you can be aware of, and then as soon as you get in contact with someone else, even minor things that people say might change something in your inner experience. Like suddenly I have a little odd feeling in my stomach, now I have a little odd feeling in my heart, I have a little weird feeling in my back or whatever, and suddenly I realize, oh, there's something going on. And by naming that, or actually allowing that to surface, the experience of us relating is going to be very different, right?
Yeah, totally. And I'm experiencing it right now. While you are naming what's happening, and like being with you now, can really feel like a feeling of groundedness, of presence, of vitality as well. And that's also connecting me with the love I have for what's real, and for a shared reality. It's like I have my own world, and you have your own world, and we carry our world everywhere we go. And suddenly I come in connection with you, and what's exciting me, and really I'm very enthusiastic about, is to really discover what are we supposed to co-create together in the moment. And I very much believe that this is directly connected with the body and with sensation and what's happening in our present experience.
And one example is, I just realized now when we're talking, before there was something changing in my stomach, kind of some feeling of maybe discomfort or something like that. And I also, just by kind of naming it or allowing myself to realize that there is something changing, maybe some uncomfortable feeling or something, I can relax more because I don't have to pretend that nothing changed, right?
Yeah.
Because everything changes all the time, and the beauty really, and that's what I found also in the authentic relating training. You said this notion, you use this notion of slowing down, and I really feel that that's something very, very powerful that we can do, and we just did it right now by saying, kind of talking the experience right now of what is happening. We're kind of slowing down the process of processing all of what's happening. And that's my image. I'm curious what you think about it. And that's by you kind of like open up for there to be more, to be able to be processed, because you're slowing down to actually receive what is there. Because if you're too fast, there's too much to be processed without enough attention on it.
Yeah, totally. I have a feeling, hearing you, I have this feeling of poetry right now arising in me, and yeah, I'm enjoying that. And indeed, we slow down a lot to be able to get in touch with the complexity of what is happening, because a lot is happening. We are like, reality is complex, life is complex, and human beings are very complex creature, and slowing down is enabling us to really get in touch with what is actually happening within myself in the moment, and allowing me to feel and to slow down. I can really have that breath coming naturally, and I'm experiencing a release, letting that happen. It's like I did not choose to, it just happened.
And I find that so fascinating, those small little changes inside of ourselves. And I talk about authenticity a lot, or about like what is my own truth, right? And what I found so fascinating about this practice and the whole idea behind it is that when for example, when I'm in a group and I have an impulse to say this or do that or go to that person or maybe go away from that person or whatever, if I allow myself to first honor that truth, honor first of all that I have this impulse, and then maybe I act it out, or maybe I don't act it out, but I allow it to be there, and then I put my conscious attention onto it, then I process that thing. And if I don't process that, if I don't put any attention on it, I'm just gonna feel, either if I act on it, I usually feel a feeling of joy, or like, wow, that there was something that was coming up that was true, I was acting it out, it felt awesome. Or I didn't act it out, and then I feel a little bit somehow not too good. Somehow it just feels a little bit odd, because I'm not following up on this truth. And what I found really fascinating about this authentic relating is that then there's another element that comes into it, that is, even if I didn't act up on it, I have the possibility to share that truth, even if I didn't act up on it. And maybe sometimes I don't know if I want to act up on it, because I don't know, maybe that's too much for this person, or maybe that's too much for me, or whatever. But it kind of adds another layer of possibility of sharing that truth and creating the truth that is right for everyone together. What do you think about that? Do you have any experience of that, or can you relate to that?
Yeah, very much. It like this practice helps us to open the field of possibilities and really experience choice. And often we are like our behaviors are dictated by conditionings, and we are like feeling a lot of impulses and gut feelings and things, and a part of it we just like repress it, and then we act it out without even being aware of it. And this practice of slowing down and really like experiencing what is happening in the moment for ourselves, and bringing that to the surface and making it like explicit and revealing it like you just mentioned, it's really like, wow, the field of possibility is open, and I can feel it, I can name it, I can really like act upon it or decide not to act to. And yeah, if our intention is to really benefit ourselves and others, like really honor ourselves and others, then we like multiply the what would be the word, I don't know how to
multiply what we can kind of create together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's beautiful. And so I mean, I don't actually know circling, but I have some idea of it or some feeling around it. And I'm curious, so if people wanna maybe start exploring circling or authentic relating a bit, I mean, of course, I would definitely invite people to just maybe go to an authentic relating training or to circling training. But so what are maybe some practices or some ideas that people can now take on and just try out, maybe with their friends in a group, or maybe with even people that don't know about it? What would be something that they can start trying out to be more authentic, to relate more authentically with each other, to connect more deeply? What would you recommend as practices or ideas?
Yeah, one practice is coming down now is practicing curiosity. It's really like, rather than having an idea of ourselves and what is our experience, and it's really like, oh, actually, what is my experience right now? Can I become really curious about what's happening within myself in that moment? And cultivating that and practicing regularly, maybe a few times a day, and really like, oh, actually, what's alive within myself in that moment? What is my experience? What it's like to be myself in that moment? And then eventually extending that to the connection to another, what it's like to be you in that moment. I'm curious, you know, about your experience, about what's happening in your world.
That's very beautiful, because and it's funny you say that, because that was also the first practice that I did in the first seminar that I gave about authenticity. It was really about curiosity. And I love the first step. Actually, I started actually with curiosity about others, but actually it's so important, as you say, to really first do that step and say, okay, what is actually, being very curious, what is going on with me? What is my experience? And being connected to this experience of myself, which then lays the foundation to be curious and feel what is happening with the other person, such that then you can even be curious about what's happening in the relational field between the two.
Yeah,
that's very beautifully said. Yeah. And it's also interesting how it all comes together, because there's another teacher that I'm following, his teachings a lot, is called Thomas Hübel. And he talks a lot about that curiosity of your own sensations, of your own inner world, of your own emotions, what's happening inside of you, be it thoughts or emotions or feelings or whatever. And then also about the other person, and then about the relational field. And he kind of names it as almost another entity. And I find it very interesting, because there's really some specific characteristic about how I feel in myself, how I can feel the other person, and how I can feel the relational field, in a way, the interrelating with each other.
Yeah, totally. It's like this idea of discovering and creating also a shared reality. It's different between the two of us, and between maybe us plus the people watching this recording this video, and yeah, so each time it's different depending on who is present in that field.
And if there is like a group of people that is curious, how can we relate more authentically with each other? Maybe they're a group of friends and they're really into just like exploring. What would be maybe some exercises, something that they could start doing in the group to be more, to go deeper in this authentic relating, or in the I don't know, in the relating with each other more consciously? Would there be anything that just comes to your mind right now that you can really start doing?
Like a practice, you
mean?
Like
a practice or something like that.
Yeah, again, that's this curiosity. It's really like follow your genuine and innocent curiosity, and something like expect the best out of everyone. It's like, yeah, maybe connecting with the innocence and purity within every human being, and to really like start exploring the world of another with that curiosity and that idea of perfection, of like everything is like perfect as it is in that moment, and that could be
yeah, that's the kind of sort the gateway, or the
yeah, gateway.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's awesome. And maybe one thing that I'm curious about, that I would touch on a little bit, is the notion of, we talked about it before a little bit, before the interview. And so how would you say that your own energy, because we were talking about the way, there's a saying that says, if you are, no, what's the saying? The saying is, I don't hear what you say, your being speaks so loudly. And it's really about who you are, which is already kind of communicating a lot, and your own inner experience and energies. And I know you mentioned one thing in the seminar about feeling your back. And you're talking, we talked a little bit about maybe opening the heart and things like that. I'm curious, maybe if you can talk a little bit about how that inner attention and feeling and those experiences come into play when you interact with others. If you could talk a bit about that, and what is your experience about that?
Again, it's coming back to the body. And like we say that 80% of communication is non-verbal. So it's really like coming from the body, and we can like detail the posture and the movement and the facial expression, but also, as you mentioned, the energy. And I don't feel comfortable to go too much into what is energy and how, because it's still an exploration for me on how to define that. And but for sure, it's like this connection thing is really happening at really like bodily and energetic level, and there is an exchange that is maybe like we can see with the body, and like which is invisible through the energy we exchange in that moment.
And you said at the seminar, if I can say that, about the attention in the attention in the back. You said something around when you're listening to someone, just exploring and playing a little bit around with this idea that you're focusing on feeling your spine and feeling your back, right? And that can help to kind of not fall too much into the other person emotionally, be too kind of like, I don't know, to be too lost in that, right? And just playing around a little bit. How do I feel if I listen to someone when I'm feeling my back? How does it feel for me? And maybe also as the other person, how does it feel for the other person, right? And then we were talking about also the heart, right? Opening the heart, because then I said that that's my problem sometimes, that when I'm just feeling my back, it can happen that I'm kind of like going so much back that I'm a little bit distant. And for me, it was then to open my heart again. And you said, as you said it, put it beautifully, it's like kind of leaving the heart space open while allowing myself to also feel my back in a way.
Yeah.
And just seeing what are the effects if I feel my heart, if I open my heart, if I feel my back, and maybe if my attention of the energy or the center of my energy is somewhere in between my back and my heart, and seeing where is this kind of center, exploring where's that center where I feel that I can be open and at the same time grounded. Because the back can be something that really holds me, holds the space for me, and maybe even holds the space for others.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I don't want to add anything because you said it so beautifully, and yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was just something I wanted to add for you guys to just explore a little bit, because I found it very beautiful how you said it. You also said something around maybe placing your attention somewhere in between the heart and the back and allowing yourselves to kind of feel this energy and maybe allowing it to expand almost as like a kind of ball of energy that goes into the heart space and into the back space, such that we just explore what happens. And I find this very beautiful because I have also experienced myself that this can have really a big impact on the communication. It's like what is going on inside of me energetically.
Yeah, and it's coming back again to that, like holding that polarity balance between the masculine and feminine, and the back and the front, and to really like feel our body and how we can feel more and more available for connecting with others. So I myself feel that sometimes I'm a bit like leaning forward to be more in connection, but also discovering that in that leaning forward, actually I'm losing myself. And so it's really like, oh, but I can receive the other, I can receive my own experience, and I feel like the support of the back behind, and that is creating space for me to receive in the front. Yeah, and playing a bit between both, but like experiencing, oh, if I lean forward to listen to you or to speak with you, how is it? And being back, or really like
kind of relaxed
really like,
kind of.
what's happening in the body in the moment, and how it affects the connection, and what I'm saying and how I feel myself, and and I'm myself enjoying exploring that dynamic within my own body.
Yeah, I find that very, very, very beautiful and very interesting to explore that, because also I've also kind of seen that some people, they have this tendency to go really forward like that and just be really too much there, and it feels almost like, whoa, chill a bit, relax. It's like it's too much. It's like I want you to listen, but I don't want you to like suck everything in like that. And then there's other people that are kind of so relaxed back that they're like, well, are you even here still? You know? And then exploring the nice little thing in between.
Yeah, it's really like, how can I be more present to my own experience, and of course I can be probably present to my own experience in any position or
of
whatever,
course,
and being in connection with the other also, and it's really like a matter of bringing our attention. It's really basically it's a practice of attention. Where do I put my attention?
And it's also interesting, it comes back to this Thomas Hübel thing, that is basically, or what we talked about before, feeling ourselves, feeling the other, and feeling the relational space, and where am I in the whole thing of all the three kind of different things that are happening, and then finding that nice balance in between feeling myself and not only just feeling the other, or also feeling the other, not only just feeling myself, and also feeling what is happening in between.
Yeah, and hearing you say that, I really like connect with the love I have for that. I really like what's happening here, what's happening over there, and between us, what are we here to co-create, actually, and to discover our own, like,
and in the end, we can actually summarize authentic relating and circling probably as exactly that, right? just exploring what does it feel to be me, what does it feel to be the other, and what does it feel to be interrelating with each other.
Yeah, totally.
That's kind of like that, and then all of the practices are coming out of this curiosity to explore that more deeply, right? And more authentically, kind of.
Yeah, and it's an unending process.
Never-ending process.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, we discover and then it's done, because life is movement, and it's like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen next.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful exploration of all these topics. If people find it really fascinating what you've been saying, can you talk about a bit, first of all, also where can they find authentic relating trainings? Maybe you have your own work that you do. Where can people contact you if they found that an interesting conversation and they love your ideas? Or your work?
Yeah. For now, they can contact me on Facebook. This is my main visibility page. So it's Sat Prem,
and so SATPREM, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And also I feel like naming my two lineages, like the Art International Training based on authentic relating, and the Circling Europe based on circling. And like those are like the two lineages like I've received, and I'm doing my own cooking with that, transmitting with my unique way of
beautiful. That's beautiful. I will also link the links to authentic relating training and to the Circle in Europe in the description, and should I also link your Facebook?
Yes.
Yeah, I can also link the Facebook so you can contact her. And thanks so much for being on my channel. I really enjoyed that interview. It was a really nice co-creation around those topics.
Yeah, I'm super honored, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And if you liked the video, please hit the like button, and I would invite you to subscribe to my channel so you will see more of those videos, and you can turn on the notification bell if you want to be notified for if new videos are going to come out. And also, there's a lot of videos on this channel, so if you want to check out some more of them, this one is the one that YouTube thinks would like the most, and this one is our most recent video. Well, thanks again for the interview,
so much.
and have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.